The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices.
They're mine. They're not yours. You had no right to them when you were alive, and you have no right to them when you're dead. That's what it sounded like. Good, so you know who I am. And then you know I'm not playing. You're going to let those women go. In Jesus' name, you're going to let those women go.
Is there a demon here watching us right now? Watching us right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr. With me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty fucking good, guys. How you doing tonight?
Tonight's show is going to be difficult. It's going to be a difficult show. The reason I say it's going to be a difficult show is because we're dealing with a kind of a complex issue, and it's something that we've talked about for years. I mean, literally, you could go back to our shows. We've got like 300 or 400 shows on here, and you can see from years ago we've been talking about this, and it's finally come to a head. That is the Annabelle doll on tour, and the death of a gentleman named Dan Rivera, who was a paranormal investigator. The reason I say it's going to be difficult because I'm going to try to be respectful in this show. I don't know Dan. And I'm not trying to cast any dispersions upon the man or his character or anything like that. I've heard a lot of people say a lot of outlandish stuff about him. None of my business. You know, like I said, I don't know him, so I don't have any kind of firsthand knowledge of this gentleman. So I'm not going to say anything bad about him. Also, right off the top, I want to say that his cause of death so far is unknown as of this recording. All we do know is that they tried to give him CPR when the EMTs arrived on the scene, and they weren't able to bring him back. But there's a lot of people that are speculating back and forth on this. And the other reason this is going to be kind of a difficult show is I'm trying very hard to not make this an I told you so kind of show. Okay? Like I said, we have been talking about this for years, and we've been warning of something exactly like this happening. We were talking about the Baggins Museum a lot, and saying that it's only a matter of time before something like this ends up happening. Because if you have an object, such as, in this case, the Annabelle doll, which is either cursed or it is possessed or haunted by, well, to say a malevolent entity is kind of putting it mildly, but in this case, pretty much a downright demonic entity. When you're dealing with stuff like that, you don't want to have that around the public. I mean, there is a reason why that thing was kept in a box that was blessed by a priest and had crucifixes attached to it and had holy water surrounding it. Okay, there's a reason why that was done. And it's to keep stuff from happening like what happened in Gettysburg. Okay, now once again, I'm not saying 100% definitively that the reason why Mr. Rivera died was because of the demon that inhabits the Annabelle doll. Can't say that, because we don't know that. Okay, we know that the authorities have said that there's no sign of foul play, but when you're dealing with demonic activity, that means absolutely nothing. Basically, all that means is that nobody came in there and shot the guy or something. You know what I mean? That they didn't poison him or shoot him, that he died of a natural type of cause. But that is 100% in line with what a demon can do to you. I mean, we've seen demons make people very, very ill, give them diseases and maladies that end up costing their life. We've seen them cause accidents where people die in motorcycle accidents, car accidents, those kind of things. We've seen all manner of stuff like that. So it is 100% in line with exactly what can happen to you. Okay, there are also reports backed up by some video that he had actually taken the doll out of the case and was like messing with it and letting other people see it and touch it and stuff like that. If that is the case, then there's a very good possibility that something might have happened. You know, like I said before, that thing was in a case for a reason. It was in there to protect people from it. Now, I would say not even putting it in that case is going to be 100% effective in protecting people from that doll. You know, I have said, and I've went on the record as saying this for years, that whenever you have something like this, you ought to just get rid of it. Just destroy the damn thing. There's no reason to keep something like that around. You know, and you have a lot of people that weigh in on both sides of that issue. Some people say it's better to contain it and lock it away in a blessed box like that so that it can't harm anybody else, because if you destroy it, all you're doing is setting that demonic entity back free to go and do something else. Which, you know, is true, but in the same token, when you try to contain it the way that it was contained, it's only a matter of time before it'll get loose. You know, you're not going to keep that thing locked up forever. And the problem is, let's say you keep it up for an entire lifetime. You capture something like this when you're young, like in your 20s or something. And let's say you live all the way to your 80s or 90s and you are very, very cautious with it. You keep it locked in the box. It's blessed. You got priests come in and do blessings over it monthly and all this stuff, right? You keep up with it for your entire life. Well, eventually you're going to die. And then it's going to be left to somebody else. And eventually somebody is going to see dollar signs and they're going to try to take this thing on tour or do something stupid like that. And it's going to end up causing someone to get killed. It's only a matter of time. And what you need to understand is, to us, a lifetime might be a long time. But to a demon, I mean, those things have been around thousands and thousands of years. There's absolutely no reason why it can't just sit and chill for a century. You know, to a demonic entity, that time span is nothing. You know? So you got to be careful when you're dealing with any kind of demonic entity. And that's why we've said over and over and over again on this show, to the point to where some people that are in the field that we know have said, okay, guys, you know, you're kind of beating a dead horse here. Stop banging that drum. You know, but it's 100% true that you should only be involved in the paranormal field, and demonic cases especially, if you're called to do that type of work. You know, you shouldn't be messing around with this stuff. And I'm completely against the weekend warrior thing. You know, and I have disagreements with people that I know on that. You know, like, you guys know Andy Andrews. He comes on here every once in a while, and he did We're Screwed With Us for a while. He is on the other side of that coin. You know, he thinks that it's good to get people involved in a paranormal field and teach them how to do it correctly and all that kind of stuff. But the problem is, whenever you're dealing with any of this stuff, you're opening yourself up. You know, you are opening doorways that these things can walk through into your life. And they will put a hurting on you, especially if you don't know what the hell you're doing. You know, and I'm not saying that Mr. Rivera didn't know what he's doing. Like I said, I don't know the guy. But if you look at it logically and you take emotion out of it, you step outside of the situation. Let's not even use him. Let's just say, in general, if you have somebody who is taking an object that is known to be inhabited by a demonic entity, an object that has a body count already, and you are taking it out of its protective case and passing it around, right? If you're taking something like that, even if you're leaving it in the case, if you're taking something like that out on tour so that people can come and gawk at it, how does that imply or intone in any way that you know what the hell you're doing? Anybody worth their salt is going to say that's a bad idea. I mean, first of all, you don't want to be exposing a lot of people to something that has a demonic entity attached to it. And you especially don't want to make it an attraction to where people come there excited to see it. Because then once again, you go in there with that frame of mind, you are accepting it. Okay? You are allowing that demonic entity in to your life. Because you are going to see it. And then you're also going to get the Yahoo tough guy stuff when people go to see something like this who don't quite believe it's real. So they're going to, oh, fuck you, and they're going to say stupid stuff, and they're going to act dumb, and they're going to give it the finger, and they're going to, say a bunch of stupid stuff. Well, what do you think's going to happen to those people? Do you think that you can just mock a demon and nothing happens to you? Do you think you can just insult it? Now see, this gets to the root of what I've said for a long time about these ghost shows. How you have people on these ghost shows who are supposedly talking to demonic entities. And they're sitting there running their mouth and insulting them and treating them like they're weak. And they portray this as if it's real. They portray it as if this is an actual demon that this person's talking to, and they're talking to it like it's a punk. Now, everybody who knows what they're doing, everybody who's worth anything in the field knows that the majority of these shows are full of shit. Okay? But the people at home, they don't know that. A lot of the people at home think this stuff is real, especially fans of the shows. I know, I've seen them. I've met people, I've talked to people who are fans of these shows who believe that these people are real and these people are actually doing what they're doing on the show. What they don't understand is that's TV. It's not real life. And the majority of the shows out there are complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. A lot of that shit is staged. A lot of that shit where you get a chair rocking or something rolling across the floor, that's not paranormal. That's somebody rolling something across the floor or attaching like a piece of fishing line to the chair and pulling on it to make it go back and forth. They fake stuff all the time. Now, I'm not saying every single show out there does it, but 99% of them do. Okay? So when you got people who are watching these shows and they believe that shit is real, then they say, oh, well, that's how you have to talk to a demon. So then you hear all kinds of nonsense coming from these people. Well, I would just go up to that demon and I'd tell it this, that, and the other thing. And I'd say this, and I ain't afraid of that punk and all this. You hear that nonsense. And they have absolutely no understanding of how powerful a demon actually is. What a demon can actually do to you. Under our own power, there is not a human being walking this earth. Not one. That can go up against a demon and prevail. Nobody can. They will destroy you in an instant. Every single one of us. The only thing that protects you is God. That's it. Everything else is just lies. Now there's people that have made deals with demons. There's people who think that the demon is on their side, that they're their friends. Those people are fools. Those people are going to find out the hard way one day. That what they've actually done is become that demon's bitch. They think they're the ones in charge. They think that they're running things, but they're not running anything. They're just fools. Without God, there is no real protection from these things. And you can't go in there just trying to be a tough guy. You can't go in there trying to prove a point. You can't take one of these things and try to make it a spectacle to make money off of. You can't have a museum with all of these haunted and possessed things that you're saying demons are attached to, and have the public come in there and see them without something bad happening. Now, one of two things is true. Either one, These people are telling the truth. And the Annabelle doll and a lot of these other objects do have demonic attachments. In which case, it is absolutely irresponsible, and in my opinion, criminal, to expose the innocent people in the public to these things. You are doing irreparable harm to innocent people. You might as well destroy their lives yourself, because that's all you're doing. You're going to cost people their lives. You're going to ruin people's marriages. You're going to ruin people's lives, period. Their careers, everything. Because of what you're doing. That's option one. If it's real, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. It's wrong and you damn well know it. But you're greedy and you want to make money off of it. And that's not right. Option number two. You're absolutely full of shit. You're just a grifter. You're faking and you're acting like something has a demonic attachment when it actually doesn't. And you're duping the public, just like the old carnival guys from old, into coming in and spending their hard-earned money to see nonsense that you know isn't what you're saying it is. If that's the case, you're wrong. You're dishonest and you're greedy and you shouldn't be doing that. So either way you look at it, this is a bad idea. Either way you look at it, this is wrong. You shouldn't be taking something like Annabelle on tour. You shouldn't be having a museum in which people can come in and see haunted and cursed objects. Period. People need to understand how dangerous this is. They need to understand that these things are real. Okay, everybody watches horror movies and all this stuff, and they get lulled into a false sense of security. Because they think, well, you know, it's scary a little bit here and there, but none of this is real life. It's not real, it's just fiction. That's why it's fun. I mean, because face it, if you were in an actual situation that happens in a horror movie, with some person trying to kill you or something like that, that's not going to be fun for you at all. That's going to suck. Nobody would want that. But somehow, because it's a movie, and you know that it's not real, it's fun. But this is real. But people equate it the same way they equate horror movies. That, oh, it's just harmless fun. It's not. It's not harmless fun. Either you're being ripped off and none of this is real and these people are just lying to you and you're paying your hard-earned money to go and see a toy that means nothing, or it is real and you're not only putting your own life at risk, but you're putting your family's life at risk, your children's lives at risk by going and seeing this. People don't take it seriously enough. And as I said in the beginning, we've been talking about this for years. Not necessarily the Annabelle doll being on tour for years, because it hasn't been on tour for years. But we've been talking about this with the different museums that have been opening up and stuff like that, that you cannot do this. You got people doing these stupid paracons all over the place. And now at almost every paracon you go to, there's haunted dolls. Somebody's bringing some kind of haunted doll or haunted object, and they got this story to sell you. Oh, well, this thing was inhabited by a demon, and it did this, this, and this. And my first question is, why the hell are you bringing it here then, you dumbass? If what you're telling me is true and this thing has a demon attached to it, why the hell would you bring it to some place with a bunch of innocent people? I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just retarded. That's like saying, oh yeah, I've got Hannibal Lecter over here. He likes to eat people, but I'm just going to bring him here to this picnic. Why the hell would you do that? You're just giving him a bunch of victims. It's stupid. I can't stand this kind of stuff. I absolutely can't stand it. And like I said, I don't know this guy. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the dead or the family or anything like that. But what the hell do you think's going to happen? You can't be messing around with this kind of stuff and expect you're going to be okay. At the very best of times, when you take every single precaution possible, you still get messed up doing this work. You still get attacked. You still have things happen. Even if you do everything right. Nobody, and I mean nobody, gets out of this unscathed. There's always times that stuff happens. Now, it might not be this kind of bad, right? But every single time that our team has ever worked a case that has a demonic entity attached to it, especially if that demonic entity is hurting somebody or hurting a family, every single time without exception, for the first couple weeks to a month before we go, leading up to that investigation, all hell breaks loose in our lives. We got people getting sick. We got people's cars breaking down. We got flat tires on the way to the investigation. We got all kinds of stuff like that happens. You could go month after month after month, perfect health, absolutely nothing wrong. Everything's wonderful. And then all of a sudden you're getting ready to go work a case that you suspect might be demonic, and all hell breaks loose for a month beforehand. Always happens. We've had people get attacked at the investigations. Physically attacked. And spiritually attacked. We've had to pull people out of investigations before. Because they've gotten to the point where they're about to vomit on themselves. They've gotten so ill. It's not a joke. And one of the worst things about the success of the paranormal field, although I believe it's on the decline now, I think it's becoming a joke. And nobody takes it seriously anymore. But one of the things that is one of the bad byproducts, let's put it that way, like one of the side effects, let's say, of the paranormal field getting so popular, is you have a bunch of people with absolutely zero respect for what these things actually are and what they're capable of. Just playing. A lot of them don't even believe it's real. So they're just playing and trying to make themselves look macho in front of women so they can get laid. Look at me, I'm a big shot. Watch me talk shit to this demon. Right? All the time. And it's those kind of people that end up getting hurt. It's those kind of people that real investigators have to come in behind and try to save. We've worked many cases where there were other paranormal investigators there before us. And in several of those cases, the people that were there actually made things a lot worse. Where the attacks got more severe. By a magnitude of 10 to 100 times more severe. I mean, one case we documented on the channel, it was little more than an annoyance. And then there was a paranormal investigator who came in, who ran their mouth and talked a bunch of crap, didn't know what the fuck they were doing, and then the next thing you know, the baby is getting physically attacked. So what does that investigator do? Does he fix the situation? Does he know what to do? No, he runs away. And recommends, hey, call these guys. He had no idea how to fix it. So then we got to go in and fix it. And it's not like we can go in and go, and it's done. That's not how it works. It's over and over and over again. It's time after time. It's working with these people. It gets better. It gets a little worse. It gets better. It gets a little worse. Till finally we get it to go away for good. And if you're lucky, nobody gets seriously hurt. But that's not always the case. Sometimes people get really hurt. We've literally had people die on cases before. That's no joke. Now, none of our team died. But one case I worked here, one of the people we were trying to help ended up dying because they didn't want the help. The family wanted to help, and we saved them. We got them away, and they were safe, and they're okay now. But the one person, they didn't want help. They were one of those people that thought demons were cool. One of those people that tries to act like the demon's their friend or whatever, and, oh, you know, we're cool, it's not a problem for me. I like him. That kind of bullshit. And guess where that person is today? 6 feet underground. Taking a dirt nap. They dead. Always. How it always ends. And I don't mean to be callous or come across as uncaring. I'm not. I've talked on this show before about that case and how much that hurt me. That we couldn't save that person. But we tried everything in our power. And they didn't want saved. You know, we came into the case not because that person wanted help, but because that person's kid was repeatedly attempting to off themselves. So the demon had moved on to the child and was doing a lot of damage to the kid. And so that's why we got the call to come in and help. And we were successful in saving the mother and the kid. The father didn't want the help. Because like I said, he's one of those guys that he thought it was cool. You know, look at me, I'm so spooky. I'm a horror guy. I'm a badass gothic guy. All this crap. Glamorized it. Thought it was a good thing. Thought he could get power from it. Thought he could get something from it. All he got was dead. That's what always happens. And it absolutely sucks. And it shouldn't be that way. Now, if I'm honest with you, which I always am, and I've said this before on the show, so you guys that are long-term listeners, you'll remember this, that one messed me up a little bit because I really, really tried to save him. I tried to talk him out of it. I tried to bring him around. And I consider that, even though it was his choice and I did everything I could, I still consider that a failure on my part. And I still do the what if game. You know, what if I would have said this, or what if I'd have done that? Maybe I could have changed his mind. Maybe he'd still be here. Now I know in here, in my head, that I did everything I could do. That I went above and beyond, and he just wasn't going to be saved. It was his choice. But in my heart, I still doubt. In my heart, I still wish I could have done something different. And I probably always will. See, people ask when I do interviews on other shows and stuff sometimes. I don't do a whole lot of them because I really can't be bothered because I don't really care about getting out there and being known, really. But I have done some interviews on other shows. And when I do them, one of the questions they always ask me is, what are the cases you remember the most? You know, and they're kind of hinting like, what are your biggest successes? What are the ones that you hang your hat on that you're like, yeah, I did that. That's awesome. You know, but honestly, the ones I remember the most aren't the ones that I win. The ones I remember the most are the few that I don't. It's very rare that we go into a case and we can't help somebody. We can almost always help. But every once in a while you get one that just doesn't. Now this one I'm talking about right now isn't really one of those cases that we weren't able to help because we accomplished the goal we had, which was to save the kid. And we saved the mother too, which was a bonus. But I still consider it a failure and a loss because I didn't save everybody. You know, you can't save everybody all the time. That's advice I've given to a lot of people. But it's kind of hard to take your own advice sometimes, isn't it? You know, when you're dealing with your own failures, sometimes it's like, I know this is what I've said, and I mean that, and I believe that, but for some reason I can't apply that same standard to myself, you know? And that's my own failing. You know, you can call that pride, you can call that ego, whatever you want, but I don't think that it's necessarily pride or ego. You know, I think if you really drill down into my psyche, you drill down into my head, on it. It's not that I think I'm so good I should be able to save everybody. It's every single time I go in, I'm praying that God can save them. And when it doesn't work out that way, I look at it as I wasn't good enough to accomplish it. You know, that's how I see it. I don't see it as I'm so good it should have happened. I kind of see it as the opposite. Because as I've said earlier in this show, it's not my power that can get rid of these things. It's God, you know. And if for whatever reason it doesn't work out the way I want it to work out, I know God didn't fail because God doesn't fail. It had to be me, you know. And that's kind of the way I look at it. Even though in that case it was 100% the guy chose it, but still, if I would have been able to convince him, you know. But my main point in this episode is kind of the same point we've had for years on this, is you shouldn't be messing with stuff like this. And I would go further than just the tours. I would go further than just the haunted museums. And I would say the paranormal in general, if you're not called to do this, you got no business doing it. You shouldn't be doing the weekend warrior thing where you're going to haunted locations, paying a bunch of money, and sitting there playing like you're on TV. Because no good's going to come of it. The only outcomes are bad. Everybody gets hurt. If you do this job for long enough, you're going to get hurt. That's just the bottom line. Nobody gets out without being bloody sometimes. That's the truth. And that's being a little, hyperbolic saying bloody because they're not always physical attacks. But they reach out and touch you sometimes, And you got to stay humble and you got to stay grounded and you got to stay in prayer and you got to realize that what you're dealing with is not fictional. What you're dealing with is not make-believe. Demons are real and demons are powerful. And there is a very good reason that God commands us in the Bible not to mess around with these things. It's because they're very, very dangerous. So with that being said, I'm going to throw over to Old Boy and see what he has to say about the situation. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you, brother. And good evening, guys. And if you notice, me and James have lost a full shitload of weight. I don't know if you guys have noticed lately, we are pretty much getting pretty thin there. And I haven't been this thin since before I got sick with COVID and had to go to the hospital. I'm around that weight, but I'm healthy. But I haven't been this since high school almost. So, and James has done very well, lost a whole bunch of weight. You guys look, we're very different looking. It's a old boy. It's almost 215 pounds, I think. I'm doing really well. But this is something like I said, I want to people understand this. I'm not going to take any pride to doing this, and I'm fucking mad I have to do this, but I knew one day it was going to happen. We've been talking about it for years on the shows. Go back and listen to us. People are mad. That's why we're not on a TV show, because we're too fucking controversial. They don't want us to go on because we'll go into these places. They're so fucking haunted. We'll take them on. But I'm going to tell you, there is a point, like he said. I'm instead of aging, guys, and yes, my beard and stuff, I'm actually look younger than I did 10 years ago. That you got to remember, there's a cost on things. Yes, but things happen to me. Being the head investigator, I've dealt with a lot of stuff. Some people, it's not I'm trying to ignore them. I'm letting them do their things. I'll talk to them eventually, but I still have to decompress for what I deal with. A lot of the investigations, nothing ever happens to me, but I'm so angry that this happened because let's be fair, we don't know 100% what happened. We need to know first before, like everybody else is doing. It's being talked about everywhere. I want to know what really happened because, things do happen in life. You might have just passed away. Or other things that could have happened. So we got to figure out first what happened. People need to realize these things kill you. I don't care what you believe. These things are not good. This isn't a fucking joke. I've seen this shit destroy, kill people. Like he said, we've lost people. We've seen people who used to be in our groups have nothing but horrible luck, and then they act like that nothing's going on, but they don't realize what they fucking caused themselves with the shit that they do. And I'm talking, and this is with anyone. One thing I say about Baggins, he hasn't been the same since that Hell House. He wasn't really. Look what happened. That lady got killed by some kind of triangle that was involved in his group. He's had nothing but bad things happen. And one guy was in his went all satanic and got all weird. And he was like a normal guy. The guy who people who went in there and did something that got sick. He knew better. He almost went blind because of it. And now this happened with his with it's not him. The doll had nothing to do with him for once. But look what happened before this. He was just on TV because the guy's wife tried to kill him. And she only got, 5, 6, 7 years or something? I was like, this is crazy. She should get 20. But I also think it had to do with that. Zach Baggins, I hate to say it, he's got a lot of money, but he's cursed. And you don't have to believe me. Watch. I'm going to tell you something. I can see sin. I know who's evil and who's not. Trust me, you get abilities with certain things you do. But I'll tell you this. Something bad will happen if you go the wrong way with this shit. It could destroy your whole life, and it doesn't have to kill you. People got to quit that. 10 minutes later is going to kill. No, it's better off to see you tortured for years on end, 20, 30 years, see people around you get destroyed and could die. You think they want to kill you slow? That doesn't work like this. Stop watching the fucking movies. This isn't Constantine. The devil is real. I don't know what you want to believe on it, but he's real. Maybe not the way he thinks it, but there's stuff you don't want to play with. And we're very emotional about this issue. Trust me, there's no pride in doing this show. We knew one day we were going to do this. That's why we're just keeping it, because we don't know 100%. So we're not going to say, that we're in, like these idiots. We're not going to do like everybody else is doing. We're just making you aware of we've been fucking saying this shit for a long time. You can believe in whatever you want. Ghosts, they may not even be ghosts. They might be another dimension just fucking with us. We don't know. But for sure, there's something there. I have a difference of opinion with good and evil. I believe there's a necessary good, and I believe there's a necessary evil. I believe that there's an unnecessary and an unnecessary good. I think things balance it out, and that's how I'm always going to believe that. That's the way I believe, because I've seen them both, and I've seen them both work. I think they coexist, and they always have, and they always will. And I think there's nothing anybody's going to ever be able to do that. But I think that both good and bad know that there's some things are just too extreme that cause chaos. And if you understand it, I've lived chaos all my life. Chaos can destroy anything. And if you have too much of one thing, it gets old. You get bored. This is why I was saying, I'm going to tell you what I have. I have another thing that I think they're hiding from us. I think that they figured out that destroying would just be not important. So they just reoccur everything again and again. That's a living hell if you think about it. But that they found out if we just keep doing this, the game lasts forever. Maybe it changed. Maybe somewhere different where this is just too fun to see who's going to not do something and who is. Because it gives you a meaning to everything. So that's why bad things happen to bad people and good things happen to good people, but there was a reason behind it. But this situation, it shouldn't have happened. You have to realize you're signing a waiver to go see these shows, guys. And any of the, I mean, with Zach Baggins and that Warren thing, why do you think they're doing that? They don't want to be fucking responsible if something happens to you. This is the show shit. This is why I have a problem with it. Yes, they're great. Most of these guys are not bad people. We know them. Fuck. Our guy from We're Screwed hangs out with all these guys all the time. Andy fucking works at Gettysburg. Haunted tours. He's known, everybody in the world knows who he is. And he still has shit that he's been doing for 30 years and he doesn't fuck with. But he's really like me and James too. He's not really scared of it. We're not anything in this world that I think there's anything like me and James. And it's not all we're better. It's just I can take this shit. A lot of people can't. Only certain people can do this. We were meant to do this. He's meant to keep balance, just like I'm meant to keep balance. And what that means is there's always a good and evil, but they know when not to fuck with each other. It is kind of like Constantine if you think about it. But we both know that we can't have somebody go around and just kill everybody because that it's just not going to happen. That's not how the game works. That's why the world has an end. Because that could have happened already. There would have been nothing we could do. But that game will never end, and I'm telling you, it never will. It'll just keep recycling, and that's what I believe. Whatever side you believe in or whatever, I believe this is all this is really about. It's just been done over and over and over, but that's a whole nother story. I'm getting into the spirits, but I was explaining why we're the way we are. Sorry. These fucking dolls that you guys are going to see and people have at their house and they're fucking dancing around you, if they really are haunted, you're fucking playing with the wrong shit. You all right, James? Oh, okay. I saw you looking around. I was like, oh, something flying around. I saw that. So I'm like, oh shit, we might have pissed something off. And we have on this show. I'm going to tell you something. We've had paranormal shit on our shows. We've had demons talking, shadow people and we were sitting there with just me and him. And we sat there while we were muted. We could hear something talking while we weren't. There's something on the show. We've had this happen for years. Actually, lately it hasn't. I've noticed it for the last year or two. We haven't had that happen. But we used to have that happen all the time. And that's why I'm telling you. And they would sit there and whisper. And it was fucking weird. And he even heard it. And it was like, we're sitting there like, whatever. I'm like, dude, I don't know what fucking side it was coming from. Then we had a guest and it was coming when they were on. So I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, we have a lot of stuff on this. We've actually had talked to this thing that was on here one time a couple years. I forgot about that. We have stuff that comes after us, even on our fucking show. There's one show it would not let us do. Remember that? I don't remember. They would not let us do that one show. We had to throw it away. We had to record it by himself because it would not. We tried it 3 times and would not take the show. It kept fucking up. Now we know there's certain things they don't want you to talk about. This is something we need to get out there because I want people to understand. I don't want this to happen to anybody else. And again, like I said, I'm not going to say what he said. Told you so. I'm not going to say that because I just hope people realize there's such a thing that can happen to you now. And the people who didn't think I knew, and now they saw that happen, and she's like, I can't believe you really do this shit. You could die. I said, I know. I could die, and I do this most of the time for free. Most of these other people won't do that. That's the difference between me and James. Asked all these guys on TV if they're doing it for free. We're the only ones known to do that. Andy does it. But even then, some of those times he gets paid for certain things, but that's because of his company. but he doesn't even really charge. He'll charge. If he knows that somebody doesn't have the money, he won't charge. But if it's a big case, sometimes he does. He has his own paranormal, but he has people around him. That's why. Me and James will not take money. Now, if it's like 200 miles away, you might have to give me a little cash for gas, or that's it. But I'm not going to pay you to get the ghost out like some people, $10,000 or something like that. That's absolutely ridiculous. I had to help somebody that had somebody famous that ripped them off for $5,000, and I got it done. And I did it. He didn't even get involved. I did it. And you're going to say, well, how'd that happen? You have to understand, not just Christians can get things out. I can. I'm not the only one, but we have power just like they do. And like I said, it's always going to be that. This is why I'm telling you guys, please realize what you're watching is not just TV. I understand some of it is. Most of it is. We will say that it's for entertainment. But this shit can come after you and ruin your life. It will ruin your life. Me and him are not going to live a natural life. I'm going to tell you this right now. We are tormented to the day we die. There's nothing any of us can do about it. We both have fucking crazy shit that happens, dreams. Sorry about that. What the heck? Sorry about somebody. I don't even know what happened. I was talking and it just went dark. I apologize, that guy. But that's the reality. I'm helping people for free. I'm not trying to get on TV. He's not trying to get on TV. We're dealing with stuff that can kill you. And it's slowly doing it to me and him. I'll tell you that. We've had bad shit happen to us. He's almost passed away a couple times. I have too. Now, one of them, it was our own fault. We got a little too hedge on the hog there and didn't give a fuck about. When I was eating good, I'm going to be honest, I went out every weekend, ate, drank, did what the fuck I want, and that's some of my fault. But other things I could tell weren't there. I never had dreams like I had before, where I see shit, and my wife will sit here and now I can see what she's seeing. But my wife will sit here and shit will start talking to her and pinch here. This is the price you pay for the help. We have PTSD forever. We'll never be able to live a normal, natural life. We're not going to live to 90. We are these kind of people. Eventually, we're going to meet our match, but that's the way we want to go out on our fucking shield. I'm down for that, man. I don't want to die at 90 years old. Somebody fucking telling me, here, open your mouth, sir. I can't have somebody take care of me like that. I never could. I know he can't. I know he don't want it. That's why it's hard to get old, guys, because when you're the way we and him are, it's not the way I want to go out. We were born in an era where you can't do stuff like that. We're not supposed to be doing it. But couple hundred years ago, that's a different story. It was all hell, kick ass and take names, and that's all it was. And I believe that. I believe we did some. I believe in the old ways. I believe in the old creatures. I believe they do exist. I think they coexist with us, and we don't even know it. But I believe that demons are absolutely real. I believe in shadow people. I believe in all this stuff, and I believe these dolls. Some of them are bullshit. And I think Annabelle's not. We know this. Robert's not. And there's other ones. We've done a show. He done little shows about them when so did I. We have, over the almost 10 years, telling you a free booklet for the rest of your life till we die, how to defend yourself against certain things. We're not experts, but we know how to deal with this to a point. Even we meet our match. We're not impossible to beat. We're not experts. We just know from experience what to deal with. Realize that you're going in warfare, but it's spiritual. And just like with all war, you have scars that's never going to go away. These are never going to go away. These things hate me and him. They like me or hate me. It doesn't matter. They hate us, but then they love us because we give them attention, what they want. They want the attention. They want people to know they're there. And they are. You can believe whatever you want. If you don't believe in anything, then that's fine. I get it. It's impossible to almost change somebody. But I'm just saying, then you're safe then, unless something doesn't come after you. But if nothing ever does, then you know what? You're the lucky one. But please, before you go to these museums, before you spend all this fucking money on this bullshit, make sure you're safe. Know what you're doing. Know it's just not a TV show. And know that even experts and people that know what they're doing can get hurt, families destroyed, suicide, bad things happening to them, and even death. And family members cursed. So the same thing happens and over and over and over. This shit is not a no joke. We're not doing it because we're love it. We're doing it because you know what? My personal opinion is, and this is all I've always said, this is why I always get mad. We're not as bad as everybody thinks. If you don't have a choice, I don't believe that's right. I know what I believe in, and I have a choice to believe in that. But a child or animal don't. Or a person, elderly person, don't. Or they can't defend themselves. That's another thing. If you can't defend yourself, I think that's another thing. I have my opinions on that. But what I'm saying is these things know what they like to attack. They like to attack children, elderly people who can't really defend themselves, and people who have mental issues, and younger people because they're easier to turn. But they'll go after anybody. If you have any mental problems or any issues or drug problems or stuff like that, they'll go after you. And they'll torment you to the day you die. And then they'll go after your family and keep going over and over to it. You break the cycles. But that doesn't mean it's going to go away forever. This is the thing. Somebody else could bring it back. Another family could bring it in. It's like drugs, okay? And alcohol. And sex addictions. You're never going to get rid of it. It can always come back. You could be one day, and that's just true. If you're in, everybody knows that. That's why people get mad. Oh, they fell off the wagon. You don't understand. That happens. That's always could happen at any time. That's why it's that, like people with cheating. I also know people do it because I want to, but there is also people who have addictions and are addicted to things and they can't control themselves. They have bipolar problems with it. There's some people who do. And that's why they're always doing it, other than they're just running around with one person. That's because they have or they could have some demon telling them, or ghost, or anything, or spirit, whatever you want to call them. No, I don't want to say demon because Rudy's like, demon's always the first thing. Okay, angel, whatever. That's why they do that. And that's why I'm telling you guys, dude, this dolls things, these haunted museums, these properties, these TVs they had, some killer had, or a painting that Bundy had, you understand that these people were absolutely evil. They were absolutely evil. Richard Ramirez was absolutely evil, but like he said, I am evil, but it's almost impossible to be 100%. No one can good and evil, but if you listen to what he said, he had a point. People can do good and people can do evil. But there's a good and there's an evil time. Say like what I'll explain it to you. Say you're getting attacked and people are getting murdered. You're in a village and you had to kill somebody. It wasn't necessarily the best thing to do, but you had to do it. It was a necessary evil to do that. So that's what I meant by those two differences. Explain it to you guys. And I'm not, dude, but I'm trying to tell you these things are fucking evil. And they have attachments. When you kill 30-something people, you have attachments. You have something wrong with you. and it's like a drug to the point where they want to get caught. Murderers are very fascinating. We've done so many shows about these things. And what I think is, and I have this opinion, some of these murderers stay. And I think that they get punished, whatever, but they also get privilege for how many. I believe there's a system too. I believe there's more than what people think, and I don't think we know that because they've hid it from us. I think that they send the worst people that used to be bad. They get even some kind of reward to just continuously torture people till they get sent to hell and everything else goes south. But I think I've had this feeling that that's what happens. We just turn into demons, and it just goes over and over and over to the war. And then some people, I don't think they necessarily turn to angels, but they turn into something on the other side. I believe that. And I believe that that's some of the some of the thing you to take out their pain and hell, they take it out on human beings. Makes very much sense. But it also happens that angels can take people's bodies too. But ghost isn't. I don't know about ghost. I've never heard ghost, like an actual person taking over somebody. I've heard demonic, I've heard angelic, but I've never heard of a regular person getting possessed by a person. I know persons that visit people and talk to people and manifest it, but I've never heard that one. That would be hard to do. But what I'm saying is these things can do that. And with these dolls, they can get into a doll, say like somebody put them there to store them there, and they're there, but they only can get out if somebody lets them in, like letting a vampire in a Lost Boys. And they want your soul and they can collect it. And maybe these certain demons have a different privilege where they could take over body and get another body and just keep entering bodies over and over and over to like decaying them till they jump to another. Maybe there's different demons and ghosts and spirits we don't know about. There's like a rank system. And other ones just do certain things and other ones do that. But there's no good when the Warrens locked every fucking thing away in their house to keep it away from people. That whatever they were doing, and I know there's stories about the husband and stuff like that, they knew that was bad. At least I will say that. They hid most of this shit away. And they should have burned it. But now it's fucking out there. And I'm telling you, please, this is why I'm not going to go anywhere with what happened. And I'm going to say rest in peace. And that's all I'm going to say in that. And it was a tragedy, whatever happened. And I'm sorry to the family and the people who were infected by it. And I very much have sorrow over this. Hopefully that you guys get some kind of closure. And that's all I can say. Because I know how tough it is. It's not something you're going to... It's something no one should deal with, and I wouldn't want anybody else to ever have to deal with what we've dealt with. It's not good knowing when you're helping somebody and you can't, and they pass away. You know, when I knew about the case, and I even wanted to get involved because I told him I might be able to help him, but it was too late. And me knowing I couldn't do nothing, I felt a certain way that I couldn't help somebody, and even though it wasn't my fault, like he said, I felt like, man, I should have pushed to go out there because I might have helped this guy because I'm on a different level. He might have heard me. Because sometimes you need people who are the same mind frame to think that way because you're going to understand that person better. When you have people saying, oh, yeah, you know, it's not going to happen. And especially if somebody wants it there, you're never going to, it doesn't matter who you send in there, they're never going to go anywhere. That's why I'm trying to tell you, please, if you go, you're going to go. People are not going to stop. Just be mindful. Don't touch shit. If you do see things, try to not provoke it. If you just look at it, whatever you're going to do, but don't try to touch it. Don't try to be a smart ass. Don't try to talk shit. Don't try to flip it off. Please don't do this. This shit can kill you. I've helped people who've gone to the museums. I've gone and helped people because they one lady didn't know what they just went to look at it and something picked her up. I got rid of it. This shit can come after you. You don't know what there. And now he wants to buy I guess he bought the house that somebody had a satanic rituals there or something, and it's no one's gone down there. I'll go right now, tomorrow. Right now, me and James will go down there. I bet you we'll do it. I promise you I'll do it. That's just me. So that being said, I'm going to throw it back over to James.
The first thing I would say is, in response to something old boy said, is I don't have any power. You know, he said that, you know, both sides have power. I don't have any power. God is the power. God is the one that.
Well, that's your power.
Well, it's not my power though. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to fall into obedience with it. You know. And another thing, he said it's a war, a spiritual war. That's straight from Ephesians. You know, that we battle against spirits and principalities. That's straight biblical. You know, and it's just one of those things, man, where you shake your head at it, and I mean, I agree with old boy's sentiments of, you know, rest in peace to this guy and the family. It sucks for them, you know, especially because the whole damn world's talking about it. You know, that sucks too for them. Our purpose here is not to cast aspersions on this guy or anything like that. It's just to warn that this stuff is very dangerous and it's very real. I mean, old boy talked about there's been times where we've almost been taken out multiple times. The case that I was talking about, actually, leading up to that case, you know, there was all kinds of stuff that happened before and after. You know, the worst thing that ever happened to me is I come out of my house one day and walked the same way that I've walked hundreds and hundreds of thousands of times to go out to my truck and to leave. Never had an issue. I don't have a problem with like hornets or wasps or bees or anything like that around here. I've never been allergic to anything like that. Never bothered me. I've been stung thousands of times by different types of bees and hornets and wasps and stuff in my life, because I've spent a lot of time in the swamps and out in the woods and stuff like that. So I've gotten my fair share of stings. Never had an issue. But for some reason that day I walked out and I got tagged over and over and over again. I got swarmed by a ton of these big black hornets, about this big. They hit me in the head, in the eye, the throat, the chest. They stung the hell out of me. No idea where the nest was. Never had another issue after that with them attacking or anything. Never seen them again. Just for whatever reason, that day, they just completely wiped me out. And I mean, that was leading up to a case where we had demonic activity. And I mean, I got nailed, and within half an hour of getting nailed, I looked like that "Hey you guys" guy off the Goonies. I mean, my whole head was all misshapen and swollen up. I drove myself to the hospital. I remember walking into the ER, and that's it. I don't remember anything after that until like 5 hours later when I'm walking back out. I know that I was very close to death. My wife told me all about it because she went with me. She was in the passenger seat and sat in the hospital with me. But I don't remember the hospital visit at all. They had me hooked up to all kinds of machines. They had an IV line in me, pumping all kinds of medicine in me to try to save my life. My throat was closing. My head was all messed up. My eyes swelled shut. I don't remember any of it. My wife said I looked at the doc, and I said, "Hey, doc, I'm not afraid to die because I know where I'm going. But if at all possible, could you please make me look kind of like a human being again, so that my mother doesn't have to look down into the casket and see this?" Now, I don't remember saying that, but my wife told me that's what I said to the guy. But I have no memory of it. None. But apparently I was extremely close to death several times. The doctor said that they didn't think I was going to make it, that it was that severe. And I can't tell you how many times I got hit. It was half a dozen, I don't know. It was a lot. And it was just a ton. And before then, I'd never seen one at the house, ever. And I haven't seen one since. But that day, there was a bunch of them. And they just attacked me. And it was literally like I didn't do anything to provoke it. I literally walked out of my door and took 2 steps towards the end of my deck where the stairs to go down to the driveway are. I literally took 2 steps and they just lit me up. I didn't even know they were there. They just completely lit me up for no reason. And the funny thing is, like, I started swatting at them and trying to get away, and I turned and ran back into the house, which, like I said, a couple steps. And I took a couple Benadryl and started to swell, so I knew I had to go to the hospital. And when I came back out to go to the hospital, I thought, I'm in trouble. I got to walk back by these things again, to get to the car. And I was trying to tell my wife I wanted her to stay home, but she wasn't having it. She was going whether I liked it or not. There was no stopping that woman. She was going to go with me regardless. But I didn't want her to go because I didn't want her to get stung. But I walked back out to go out to the car, didn't see a single one. None. Nowhere. And it was completely uneventful. When I got back from the hospital, walked in, and ever since I haven't seen a single one. So the only thing I can say about that is I can't say 100% definitively that was an attack by a demon, but I can tell you that I went up on a pretty severe case after that once I recovered. We had to postpone it. The case we had to postpone because I was in bad shape for about a month and a half. I was to the point I couldn't even walk out to my car. I couldn't even get up and walk across the room to take a piss by myself. I had to have a cane and had to use the furniture when I was walking and stuff and lean up against the wall just to piss. I couldn't even stand like a man and take a piss. That's how bad my body was wrecked from it. I mean, I almost died. It was so close. And we ended up having to postpone that case for 2 months until I could recover to go work the case. But we did go work the case, and I did cast that demon out. But it almost killed me in the process, and that's the only thing I can say because I never saw anything before or after here at the house that was in any way resembled what attacked me that day. And it was usually like when you have bees and hornets and wasps and stuff, they'll fly around you, but usually unless you swat at them or do something, they don't really mess with you too much. Even hornets and stuff are kind of assholes, but they don't really even attack you just out of the blue like that right away, and especially a lot of them at once. Usually when you get hit like that with multiple stings, it's because you're messing around with their hive or you're doing something stupid you shouldn't be doing. But there was none of that. I just walked out my own door. So that's one example of what we're talking about, to where these things, and when they say that, old boy said it could have just been natural causes, he could have just died, he could have been a heart attack, something like that, that's true. But once again, if any of those ways of dying were how he died, that still could be caused by a demon. Because they can make you sick. They can cause things like that. They can cause accidents. They can cause animal attacks, such as the bees or the wasps or hornets or whatever the hell those big black things were that attacked me. I've never seen them before, and I still don't know what they are. They didn't look like a normal wasp. I mean, they were literally like this big. They were huge, and there was a hell of a lot of them, and they just jacked me up. But all of those things can be caused by a demonic entity. So to say that, well, it was natural causes, or to say that, there was no foul play or anything like that, that's just from human beings. That doesn't rule out a demonic attack in any way, because it can take so many different forms, But it's a dangerous life, man. It just is. And I don't say that to glorify it. I don't say that to make myself look like a badass or anything like that, because I'm not. Like I said, first thing I said when I got back on here, I don't have any power. God protects me. The only thing I do is follow my calling, what God has called me to do. And I try to help people that God puts in my path. And I have faith and I trust that He's going to protect me and He's going to do the heavy lifting. Because that's exactly what it is. I'm just a servant. That's really, honestly, all it is. I mean, in the natural, in the physical world, I am 6'5", 300 pounds. I hold a master rank in Sanshao Kung Fu. I'm a bad man in real life. Like I could whoop wholesale ass if I need to, right? But that's not what you're doing here. When you're going on these cases and you're going up against demons, you're not putting up your dukes and bitch slapping anything. You're not fighting in a physical sense. This is all spiritual warfare. It doesn't matter how tough you are. It doesn't matter how big and bad you are. None of that matters. Usually, honestly, it can kind of be a hindrance because usually people that are large in stature and people that can handle themselves and have that confidence of being able to fight and handle any kind of situation that comes up, those kind of people are more likely to get messed up pretty badly by demons because you have that false sense of security, like you can't be hurt because you're such a badass. It's important to understand and to realize that next to a demon, your strength, your power is nothing. I mean, it's literally like fighting a toddler. There's no way that thing's losing if it's just you fighting, and that's just the truth. And anybody that'll come out and say, oh, they don't want to mess with me because I'm such a badass. Don't listen to those people. They're stupid. Those people are heading for a very, very rude awakening one day. And the last thing I'll say is like talking about what old boy said earlier about not wanting to die when you're old and all that kind of stuff, like get really old where you got to be taken care of. I don't think that I'm going to have to deal with that, not because I think I'm going to die early by one of these things. I don't think I'm going to die. I honestly don't. I mean, I've already died before. Let's say that right away. Okay. So it's not a true statement to say I will never die because I have died before and came back. So I've already seen death, but I don't think that I will die again because I truly believe that we are in the last days. I truly believe that the rapture will happen in my lifetime. And I don't have anything to base this on because God could take me tomorrow. God could take me right now as I'm doing this show. I could be talking and not even finish a sentence because, boom, I'm dead. God can take me whenever He wants. But I just got a feeling inside that I'm not going to taste death again. That I'm going to get raptured out before the time when I was supposed to die. And the only thing I would say to everybody listening is, are you right with God? That's really the only thing that matters because the money, the fame, none of that matters. It doesn't mean anything. You can't take it with you. At the end of the day, one day you're going to stand in front of God. I don't care how long you live. I don't care how much money you got when you're here. I don't care how popular you are, how famous you are, how many people know your name. Doesn't mean anything. One day you're standing before your Maker. And the only thing that's going to matter is if you're covered by the blood of Jesus. That's it. That's it. Nothing more. And one thing that I'm very grateful of is that I'm forgiven and I'm saved. So my closing message before I throw it back over to old boy for his shout outs to everybody is, if you're not right with God, you might want to spend some time in prayer. You might want to have a little conversation with Jesus, because I truly, honestly believe that we are not far from the rapture. And once the rapture happens, now I know there's people out there listening, probably the majority of the audience listening doesn't believe that. And that's fine. I know a lot of our audience, especially like on Para X, there are a lot of pagans and occult type people, right? And that's fine if you don't believe. I'm not saying you have to. But what I want to stress to you is when that happens, when the rapture does happen, what you're going to be facing at that point is the 7-year tribulation period. And it's a lot harder from that point. You can still be saved. You can still give your life to Jesus. But the rapture has already happened. You're going to have to stay here. And you're going to have to try to survive. And there will come a time when they're going to do the mark of the beast. And you're either going to take that mark and you've doomed yourself, you're going to burn. Or they're going to cut your head off. So just be aware of that. If you're watching this in a year from now, or 5 years from now, and 10 years from now, whatever, and I'm not here anymore because the rapture's already happened, just understand, don't take that mark. And go back and watch some of our old shows, especially the religious shows we've done, where I talk about the end times and give you the complete roadmap of it. I did a whole end time series here on Staring that lays out in crazy detail every single thing that's going to happen. And what's funny is some of the things I talked about on those shows years ago have already taken place today. That's pretty wild. So I think we're very close. But I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to throw over to Old Boy and let him give his final shout outs, and we'll wrap up. Go ahead, brother.
So just so you guys, that's like I said, and that's what he believes, and to the people who do watch us, they're Christians, if he disappears, if he whatever is going to happen is going to happen. I have my opinions, but we're not going to talk about that with my side. It's just going to be I'm just going to warn you guys, don't keep playing with these dolls. Don't keep going to these shows unless you really know what you're doing and you know people that are around you and you're doing it to learn like us. I get that. But if you're going to see something so you can get scared, you might get something you may not want coming back to your house. And this is to the general people that don't know this shit, just watch the TV shows, maybe want to wonder, the new people who don't really know. Please be cautioned to this stuff. It's not a joke. I don't care what you believe and what you think is real or not. Just think about this, and I'm warning you. And this is somebody who is an occultist, whatever you want to fucking call me. There's a price playing with the devil. And it's not going to end well. It never does. Especially when you don't know what you're doing. Like I said, people who know what they're doing and know what they're... He wants new people. They want new people that don't know nothing. The ones who say there's nothing like that exists, nothing does. Okay. That's what one of the cases I work in, somebody who was like that. Now he believes. He believes there's something. He didn't believe it before, but it was trying to kill him. It wasn't like I was just seeing that for making it up. I seen it. So just so you know, it's a warning show. That being said, thank you for joining us on Parax every Sunday nights. You know the time. Yeah, and Tuesday nights, the best of show. We're going to try to get that changed. We're going to talk to them soon about something. We have an idea. It's going to be really good for you guys, even better. Maybe hear us every day. That would be great. But if you guys want merchandise, you know where to go. Get t-shirts and stuff. Teespring, staringintotheabyss.com. You guys want to follow us on Spotify and YouTube, go right ahead. Or Scrooge's on there. You can listen to all those shows on both YouTube and Parax, and not Parax, fucking Staring into the Abyss. You can even see Tells the Abyss shows we done in the past with paranormal investigations and stuff that we've done, and all the pictures and videos he's spent hours of doing for free. That's why I said we've done this all to help people. And we have. And that's the only real reward. And the reward was that people know who we are, and that's it, that they know to come to help us. for help, ask for help. And they knew who we were over the world. And that's crazy to know that we have helped people like that. We're the best little secret in the paranormal world. And I'm always going to be proud of that. And I could promise you, if they ever put us on TV, and there's a possibility one day because of how I am and my lifestyle and his lifestyle, would be a great show. It is going to be like this, me and him talking. We're going to be kicking ass, and that's all it needs to be done. But other than that being said, this is going to be this was a little long episode, but it needed to be talked about, and they're cool about it anyway. So you guys have a good night, and see you later. Misfit, Sugar Ladies, Monster Lovers, Demon Hunters, I fucking love you. Good night. Sorry, my voice is going.
The YouTube channel is youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. for those of you on the radio or on Spotify. Spotify is Staring into the Abyss and We're Screwed on Spotify. Both shows are on there. YouTube channel has Staring, We're Screwed, Tales from the Abyss, Paranormal News, just tons of shows. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes of each on there. It's pretty amazing. Tales, we don't have as many episodes, but Staring, we're over 400, I believe. And We're Screwed, we've got 200 or 300 on there of that. So 100% free. Just go check it out. You can subscribe to the channel if you want to. You know, like, share, all the YouTuber crap. Do whatever you want. You know, I'm not stressed about it either way. You know, we do what we do to help people and to try to spread some information. Do I like it when people watch the show? Of course, but we have zero sponsors. You know, I don't do the ad thing. I mean, there's ads that play on the video on YouTube, but you don't make anything really from the ads that play on the videos. I mean, you make a little bit chump change here and there, but nothing really. Most of the money on YouTube is made by sponsors and stuff like that. I don't do any of that. I don't do ad reads. I don't have sponsors for the videos, none of that stuff. I don't really care about all that crap, you know. So, I mean, I know old boy's probably like, shut up, dude, don't say that shit. We want sponsors, but whatever, dude. Anyway, point is, go check out the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you want. You can go and check us out on Spotify. That's it. There you have it. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you learned something. As always, it's up to you to make up your own mind. And we'll catch you on the next one. Till we speak to you again. Love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.
In order for the light to shine so brightly, the darkness must be present. Tune in every Monday at 10 o'clock for Dark Sun Rising on the Para-X Radio Network.
Hey, this is Lee.
And this is Michelle.
And this is Dustin from the Dead Zone.
Your source for everything paranormal.